The night sky over Earth changed forever when the alien ships arrived. They did not come quietly. They appeared with blinding lights, breaking through the atmosphere like falling stars. Across the world, people looked up in fear and wonder. The ships were massive, dark shadows against the moonlight, each one larger than the tallest skyscraper. For centuries humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew the answer, and the answer was terrifying. The aliens wasted no time. Their voices echoed across every channel, every screen, every radio. Their language was sharp and cold, yet somehow it reached every human ear in perfect translation. "Humans," the voice declared, "you are weak. Your weapons are toys. Your armies are ants. You cannot stop us. Kneel and live as slaves, or resist and be destroyed." Governments around the world scrambled. Leaders gathered in secret bunkers, their faces pale as they watched the alien broadcast repeat again and again. Military generals ordered full alert. Jets took to the skies, missiles were armed, tanks rolled through the streets. Humanity had fought wars for thousands of years, but this enemy was different. No one had seen technology like this before. Still, humans would not surrender without a fight. In the deserts of Nevada, the first confrontation began. An alien ship descended slowly, its metal surface glowing with strange blue lines. Soldiers on the ground aimed their rifles and artillery, ready to fire. The alien voice spoke again, mocking and cruel. "We will allow you the first strike. Show us your strength, humans. Show us your courage. Entertain us before you fall." The order came through. The soldiers fired. Bullets, rockets, and shells screamed through the air, striking the alien ship with thunderous explosions. Fire and smoke covered the landing site. For a moment, hope filled human hearts. Maybe, just maybe, their weapons could work. But when the smoke cleared, hope died. The alien ship stood untouched. Not a single mark showed on its armor. Slowly, a hatch opened, and armored figures stepped out. They were tall, towering over men, their suits shining like silver stone. The ground shook as they marched forward. One of them raised a hand, and a deep, echoing laugh filled the battlefield. It was not laughter of joy. It was the laughter of predators mocking their prey. The aliens spoke again. "Is this your power? Is this the best your world can offer? How fragile. How pitiful. You are already defeated." The soldiers kept firing, desperation taking over. But their bullets bounced harmlessly from the alien armor. Rockets exploded uselessly against their bodies. Not even tanks could scratch them. The aliens laughed louder, walking through fire and smoke as if it were nothing. Fear spread among the human lines. Some soldiers trembled, some whispered prayers, and others clenched their rifles with hopeless rage. Across the world, people watched the battle live on their screens. Millions of eyes saw their armies fail. Panic spread in the cities. People screamed in the streets. Families rushed to hide in basements and shelters. The aliens had proven their words true. Human weapons were nothing. But humanity is stubborn. Humanity does not bow easily. In the command center, generals shouted for more firepower. They called in airstrikes, bringing squadrons of jets roaring across the sky. Missiles locked onto the alien troops and slammed into them with firestorms that lit the desert night. Again, smoke covered the battlefield. Again, hope rose for a heartbeat. And again, the aliens stepped out untouched. Their laughter echoed so loudly that even the pilots in the air could hear it through their radios. "This is your strength. This is your war. You have nothing, humans. You are nothing." One alien lifted a weapon. A single blast shot forward, cutting through tanks like paper. Another alien raised his hand, and human soldiers were thrown back by invisible force, their bodies crashing to the ground. The message was clear. Resistance was useless. Still, the humans kept fighting. They knew they could not win, not yet, but surrender was worse than death. Bullets filled the air. Explosions shook the ground. Smoke and fire painted the night red. The aliens laughed with every step, each laugh a knife of humiliation. In the end, the first battle was not a battle at all. It was a demonstration, a cruel game. The aliens had wanted to show Earth how powerless it was. And they succeeded. By dawn, the deserts were littered with destroyed tanks, broken weapons, and fallen soldiers. The aliens had barely taken a scratch. Yet somewhere in the chaos, one soldier noticed something. He saw an alien stumble for just a moment. He saw a tiny crack, almost invisible, across the armor of a fallen enemy. He said nothing, but the image burned into his mind. Maybe, just maybe, the armor was not perfect after all. The aliens left the battlefield laughing, their voices carried across every channel again. Humans, your courage is amusing, but your time is short. Kneel soon, or we will erase you. The world listened in silence, fear gripping every heart. Humanity had been mocked, humiliated, and beaten. The aliens laughed first. But deep inside, a spark of resistance had been born. And sparks, when fed, could grow into fire. The sun had barely risen when the alien ships descended again. They no longer hovered high in the sky, watching like silent gods. Now they came lower, close to the cities, close to the people. Their message was clear. They were not here only to threaten anymore. They were here to conquer. All over the world, armored alien soldiers marched into human lands. Their boots cracked the ground, their weapons glowed with deadly energy, and their laughter echoed like thunder. They believed the war was already over before it had even begun. The first true battle for Earth was about to start. In Washington, London, Moscow, Beijing, and countless command centers, generals barked orders into radios. They refused to let the world fall without a fight. Across deserts, forests, and ruined city streets, soldiers dug in and prepared. Tanks rolled into position. Jets screamed overhead. Artillery crews loaded shells as fast as their hands could move. Humanity was afraid, but it was also angry. The aliens thought Earth was weak. The aliens thought humans would kneel. That arrogance would be answered with fire. The first clash came in the ruined streets of Los Angeles. Alien troops moved through the city, their shining armor reflecting the fire of burning buildings. Civilians screamed as they ran, some trapped inside collapsing homes. Human soldiers opened fire from rooftops and behind barricades. Bullets rained down in endless streams. The sound of rifles and machine guns filled the air. Explosions shook the ground as rocket launchers fired into the advancing invaders. For a moment, it looked like the human defense was holding. The aliens slowed under the rain of fire. Some even staggered as blasts from tanks struck them head-on. Soldiers cheered, their fear replaced by a burst of hope. Maybe the enemy was not unstoppable after all. But hope lasted only seconds. The aliens stepped forward again, brushing off smoke and flames as if it were dust. Their armor gleamed, undamaged. Their laughter returned, deep and cruel, echoing through the streets like drums of doom. The aliens raised their weapons. Beams of white-hot energy cut through concrete like knives through paper. Barricades exploded. Buildings collapsed. Human soldiers were thrown into the air, their screams drowned out by the roar of destruction. Tanks fired again and again, but the shells bounced harmlessly from alien armor. Jets launched missiles, striking with fireballs that shook the city, but when the flames cleared, the aliens stood untouched. In one terrible sweep, dozens of human soldiers were gone. Yet even as they fell, others took their place. Humanity refused to stop. Men and women who had never seen war before stood shoulder to shoulder with trained soldiers, carrying whatever weapons they could find. Rifles, pistols, even hunting shotguns, all fired into the armored giants. It made no difference. The aliens kept coming, their weapons tearing through walls and flesh with ease. The streets ran red, but still, the humans fought. Elsewhere, battles burned just as fiercely. In the deserts of the Middle East, tanks tried to surround alien walkers, towering machines that moved like beasts of steel. Rockets struck their sides, Sand rose in choking clouds, but the walkers crushed tanks underfoot like insects. In the snowy forests of Siberia, entire divisions fired artillery into alien ranks, but the shells only slowed them for a heartbeat before they advanced again. The world was burning. Back in Los Angeles, the human defense was close to collapse. Whole blocks of the city had been turned to rubble. Fires consumed everything. Smoke rose into the sky like black towers. Civilians screamed as they fled deeper underground. Soldiers shouted to each other, refusing to retreat. But inside every heart was the same fear. Nothing could stop the aliens. Nothing could break their armor. Nothing could save Earth. And then it happened. In the middle of the chaos, one soldier fired blindly at a towering alien commander. His rifle rounds sparked uselessly off the armor, bouncing into the fire. But when the alien turned, the soldier noticed something strange. A crack. Small, thin, almost invisible, running across the alien's shoulder plate. The soldier blinked, unsure if it was a trick of the light. But then another round struck the same spot, and the crack widened. The alien stumbled, just for a moment, before raising its weapon again. The soldier shouted into his radio, his voice shaking with excitement and terror. "I saw it. Their armor, it's not perfect. It can break." But before he could say more, the alien weapon fired, and the radio went silent. Still, his words had been heard. Commanders replayed the message again and again. A weakness. Somewhere, somehow, humanity had hurt them. Even as cities fell and soldiers died, that single moment changed everything. The aliens kept laughing, believing victory was already theirs. But among the smoke and blood, humans carried a new thought. Maybe the aliens were wrong. Maybe the armor was not indestructible. Maybe there was hope. By nightfall, the first battle had ended in defeat. Cities burned. Millions were displaced. Humanity had suffered terribly. Yet in the ruins, a single idea spread like wildfire from soldier to soldier, from commander to commander. The aliens could bleed. The aliens could break. The invaders had laughed at Earth's guns. But somewhere in their shining armor, there was a crack. And humans were very good at finding cracks. In the days after the first battles, Earth felt broken. Smoke still rose from ruined cities, and the cries of survivors echoed through empty streets. Governments struggled to hold their nations together, but the truth was impossible to hide. Humanity had lost. The aliens had proven their power beyond doubt. Their ships ruled the skies, their soldiers ruled the ground, and their weapons could tear through anything. The world was in shock. Yet deep inside the ruins, something had been found, something that gave humanity the smallest spark of hope. On the outskirts of Los Angeles, a team of soldiers searched through the wreckage left behind. They moved carefully, stepping over broken concrete and twisted metal, their rifles raised in case any alien troops returned. The air was thick with smoke, but through the haze they found it. Lying half buried in rubble was the body of a fallen alien. Its armor was cracked, just as the soldier had reported before his death. The alien lay still, its strange body hidden beneath the heavy plates, but the sight was enough to send shock through the unit. For the first time, an alien soldier was dead. For the first time, the armor had failed. The body was quickly transported to a secret laboratory deep underground. Scientists and engineers, exhausted but determined, gathered around the alien corpse. They worked without rest, stripping the armor piece by piece. At first it seemed impossible. The metal was harder than anything they had ever seen, resistant to every tool. Saws broke. Torches burned without effect. Even diamond drills shattered against its surface. But when they reached the cracked section, everything changed. The metal was weaker there, brittle compared to the rest. The scientists leaned in, their hands shaking with excitement. The armor was strong, yes, but not unbreakable. For days they studied the alien remains. The armor, they discovered, was not one solid piece but thousands of tiny layers woven together, like scales overlapping in perfect unity. It was designed to absorb force, to redirect impact, to to protect the body inside from every angle. But under extreme pressure and heat, those layers could fail. A single weakness could spread like a chain reaction, tearing the armor apart. Humanity had finally found a way in. The discovery spread quietly through the highest levels of command. Generals met with scientists in underground rooms lit only by dim lamps. Maps were spread across tables, plans drawn in hushed voices. "If we can target the weak points," one scientist explained, "then even our bullets can pierce the armor. Not easily, not always, but it is possible." The room fell silent. For weeks they had faced nothing but despair. Now, for the first time, there was a chance. But there was still a problem. Normal weapons were not enough. Standard bullets and shells could not create the pressure needed to open cracks in the armor. Humanity needed something stronger, something faster, something designed to punch through the impossible. Engineers began working day and night, modifying weapons, testing new rounds. Railguns were tested, experimental ammunition created. Old ideas that had been abandoned in the past were pulled back into the light. Humanity was desperate, and desperation often created miracles. Meanwhile, the aliens continued their advance. More cities fell, more people were captured, and more soldiers died. The invaders still laughed, mocking Earth's weapons, mocking Earth's courage. They had no idea that deep underground, humans were studying their fallen comrade, searching for the key to their destruction. In one secret base, a young engineer placed a new round into a modified rifle. The bullet was heavier, reinforced with materials built to focus force into a single devastating point. Around him, soldiers watched in silence as a piece of recovered alien armor was placed on a test stand. The order was given. The trigger was pulled. The gun roared, louder than any normal rifle. The bullet slammed into the armor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a crack appeared, spreading like a spider's web across the plate. A cheer erupted from the room. It worked. The test was repeated again and again. Sometimes the armor held, sometimes it cracked, but every time the chance of success grew. Humanity had not yet won, but it had learned something vital. The aliens could be hurt. Their perfect armor was not perfect after all. Still, the commanders knew they had to be careful. If the aliens discovered humanity's progress too soon, they would strike harder than ever before. The research had to remain hidden until the weapons were ready. Soldiers carried rumors from one unit to another, whispers of hope in the darkness. Some dismissed it as lies meant to keep morale alive. Others clung to it like fire in the cold. Either way, the seed of belief was planted. The aliens thought they had crushed Earth's spirit. They thought humanity was broken, beaten, finished. But in the shadows, humans were preparing. They were learning, adapting, creating weapons the galaxy had never seen before. One night, in that underground base, a scientist looked at the cracked alien armor and whispered to himself, "You thought you were untouchable. But you were wrong. You laughed at our guns. Soon, you will see how dangerous we can be." And above, in the skies where alien ships hovered like predators, the war was far from over. Weeks passed since the discovery of the alien weakness, and in that time humanity changed. Where once there had been only despair, now there was determination. Hidden in underground bunkers and secret bases, scientists worked without rest. Factories that once built ordinary weapons were converted into places of innovation. Bullets were reshaped, rifles modified, and experimental railguns built in secret. Every day soldiers trained harder, learning to focus fire on weak spots. Every night the world waited, desperate for proof that their efforts were not in vain. The aliens still believed victory was certain. Their ships patrolled the skies, their armored soldiers marched across Earth as if they already owned it. They laughed as they destroyed resistance after resistance. To them, humans were just insects struggling in the dirt. They had no idea that Earth was preparing its first true strike. The chance came in the ruins of Chicago. An alien force had landed to secure the city, their towering soldiers walking through the smoke and ash. Civilians were trapped underground, soldiers scattered and outnumbered. The aliens mocked them through loudspeakers, daring them to resist. But this time, things were different. Hidden among the rubble, a small team of human soldiers waited with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Their rifles carried the new rounds, their heavy guns modified to deliver devastating impact. The order was given. The soldiers opened fire. The first shots struck an alien trooper in the chest. For a moment, nothing seemed different. The alien staggered but remained standing. Then a sharp crack rang out as lines spread across the armor. The alien froze, shocked. Another burst of fire hit the same spot, and suddenly the armor shattered like glass. The giant fell to the ground with a heavy thud. The humans stood stunned for a second. It worked. Their weapons worked. They could kill them. Cheers erupted as more soldiers joined the attack. The aliens were no longer untouchable. Their laughter turned into roars of anger as more of their kind fell under human fire. Railguns tore through their armored suits, experimental rounds punched holes where no bullet had ever pierced before. The battlefield that had once been a stage for human defeat became a place of alien fear. For the first time, the invaders bled openly before the eyes of the world. The news spread like wildfire. Across every radio and every hidden channel, the message was repeated again and again. We can kill them. Their armor is broken. We can fight back. In cities that had been silent with despair, people rose to cheer. Soldiers who had lost hope now gripped their rifles with new fire in their eyes. Humanity had not been defeated. Humanity was alive, and it was dangerous. But the aliens did not retreat. Instead, their fury grew. Their commanders shouted across the skies, their deep voices filled with rage. They unleashed heavier machines, giant warwalkers with weapons that burned entire blocks in seconds. They sent wave after wave of troops, determined to crush this new resistance before it could spread. The battles became fiercer than ever before. In Chicago, the streets turned into a war zone of fire and blood. Humans used every corner, every alley, every ruined building as cover. Snipers aimed carefully, targeting weak points they had studied for weeks. Teams of soldiers carried heavy guns that spat modified rounds, cracking armor again and again. Railguns mounted on rooftops fired devastating shots that tore through even the largest alien brutes. The aliens fought back with brutal power, leveling entire streets with their energy cannons, but for the first time, they were not winning easily. For the first time, they were afraid. One alien commander fell in the middle of the fight, his armor shattering under focused fire. His body crashed into the ground with a sound like thunder. The soldiers around him cheered wildly, their courage unshaken by the chaos. The commander's death was more than a victory, it was a message. The aliens could be killed, no matter how powerful they seemed. High above, inside their ships, alien leaders watched in silence. They had never imagined humans could adapt so quickly. They had mocked Earth's weapons, certain they were worthless. Now those same weapons, reshaped and reforged, were breaking their soldiers apart. Shock spread among their ranks. What they had thought would be a swift conquest was turning into a fight they could no longer ignore. Yet even in victory, humanity paid a heavy price. Entire neighborhoods of Chicago lay in ruins. Fires consumed homes, bodies filled the streets, and the cries of survivors echoed in the smoke. Every victory cost blood, and the aliens showed no sign of leaving. But the seed of hope had grown into something unstoppable. Humanity now knew the truth: the enemy could bleed. And if they could bleed, they could die. As night fell, the surviving human soldiers regrouped among the ruins. Their faces were tired, their uniforms torn, but their eyes were sharp with determination. They had stood against the invincible and won. One soldier raised his rifle to the sky, where the alien ships hovered like vultures. His voice carried through the ruins. "You laughed at us," he shouted. "But who's laughing now?" The war was far from over. The aliens were preparing to unleash their full fury. But humanity had taken its first step out of the shadow of fear. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth had struck back. And the galaxy would never forget it. The Battle of Chicago was only the beginning. Across the world, whispers spread of the impossible. Humanity had killed the invaders. The story traveled faster than fire. Soldiers who had once fought with despair now fought with purpose. Civilians who had hidden in fear now carried supplies to the front lines. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity believed survival was possible. But hope came with a price. The aliens were furious, and their response was swift and merciless. In the days that followed, alien ships darkened the skies over every continent. Their commanders broadcast new threats across every channel, no longer mocking but cold and sharp with anger. Your defiance is meaningless. Your victories are nothing. For every soldier you kill, we will burn 1,000 of your people. For every city you defend, we will erase 10 more. And they kept their promise. Whole cities vanished in firestorms as alien weapons rained destruction from the skies. Towers collapsed, bridges melted, entire blocks turned into ash. Millions of lives were lost in a single week. Humanity had proven it could hurt the enemy, but the enemy answered with a level of destruction the world had never seen before. The war had entered its deadliest stage. In underground command bunkers, leaders argued about the next move. Some wanted to negotiate, believing surrender was the only way to save lives. Others shouted that surrender meant slavery, and that fighting to the last breath was the only choice. Generals studied maps filled with red marks of fallen cities, their faces grim. They all knew the truth: Earth could not withstand this war forever. Humanity needed something more than just bullets and railguns. Humanity needed a turning point. That turning point came not from a general or a scientist but from a captured alien commander. During a battle in South America, human forces managed to bring down an alien dropship. Among the wreckage, they found one of the enemy leaders still alive, his armor cracked, his body pinned beneath burning metal. He was dragged into custody, chained and restrained inside a fortified bunker. At first, he laughed at his captors, mocking them even as blood leaked from his wounds. But under interrogation, his words revealed something that changed everything. He spoke of the alien empire, a vast network of worlds that had been conquered over centuries. He boasted of their dominance, their fleets, their armies. But when asked why they feared humanity's resistance so much, his tone shifted. For the first time, there was no laughter in his voice. He admitted that never before had a species broken their armor. Never before had their soldiers fallen in such numbers to a race considered primitive. Humanity was not only dangerous, they were dangerous enough to inspire fear across the galaxy if word spread. This revelation spread quickly through Earth's leaders. The aliens had more to lose than just Earth. If humanity proved that the Empire's perfect warriors could be beaten, then other enslaved worlds might rise up. The aliens could not afford to let that happen. That was why they fought with such rage. That was why they burned cities without mercy. They were not just trying to conquer Earth, they were trying to silence it forever. With this knowledge, humanity's path became clear. They could not fight only in defense. They could not simply survive. They had to strike harder, harder than ever before, and show the galaxy that Earth would not fall quietly. Every scientist, every engineer, every factory worker was thrown into the effort. Weapons were built faster, stronger, deadlier. Soldiers were trained to focus fire on weak points, to work in teams, to turn every street and every building into a trap. Humanity was preparing for something bigger, a global counterattack. But the aliens were preparing too. Above Earth, their fleet gathered in greater numbers. Dozens of massive ships, each one bristling with weapons, moved into position. On the ground, they unleashed monstrous machines, walkers taller than skyscrapers, their steps shaking the earth. Energy cannons leveled mountains, drones hunted survivors in the ruins, and the invaders spread deeper into every corner of the planet. Humanity's small victories had enraged them, and now they intended to end the war in one final crushing blow. The world braced for the largest battles yet. Cities became fortresses, rivers were mined, skies filled with jets. Every soldier knew the odds were against them, but every soldier also carried the same thought in their heart: if they could bleed, they could die. Humanity had found the enemy's weakness, and now it was time to use it. As the alien fleet prepared to strike with all its power, humanity prepared too. Across hidden bases, commanders issued one final order: fight as one world, not as divided nations. For the first time in history, every army stood under a single command. For the first time, Earth was united. The turning point had come. The war would not be decided by small battles anymore. It would be decided by fire, by sacrifice, and by the will to survive. Above, the alien motherships began to descend, glowing like second suns in the sky. Below, humanity's guns, missiles, and experimental weapons were raised, aimed at the heavens. The world held its breath. The next battle would decide more than Earth. It would decide if humanity had a future. The world stood on the edge of destruction. Alien fleets filled the skies, their massive ships casting shadows over cities below. Every broadcast from the invaders carried the same promise: Earth would burn if humanity refused to kneel. But the people of Earth no longer trembled at those words. They had seen alien soldiers bleed. They had seen their armor shatter. Hope had replaced fear, and that hope turned into a desperate plan, a plan so risky that if it failed, humanity would be erased forever. The plan was called Operation Last Dawn. It was the greatest gamble in human history. All surviving nations came together, sharing their technology, their weapons, their soldiers. For the first time, Earth's armies fought not as divided countries but as one species. The goal was simple yet terrifying: destroy the alien mothership, the core of their fleet, the command center from which every order came. Without it, the aliens might retreat. With it still standing, Earth was doomed. In hidden factories deep underground, new weapons were built in secret. Railguns larger than trains, missiles packed with experimental warheads, and rifles designed to pierce alien armor were distributed to every front. Scientists poured every last resource into creating something powerful enough to punch through the mothership's defenses. Soldiers trained harder than ever before, preparing for a fight most knew they would not survive. The operation depended on one thing: luring the mothership close enough to strike. The alien fleet had remained high in orbit, far beyond the reach of most human weapons. Only by tricking them into lowering their great vessel into the atmosphere could humanity unleash its full arsenal. The plan was dangerous, but it was the only chance left. The trap was set in Europe, where human forces gathered in massive numbers. Tanks lined ruined highways, artillery waited in forests, and jets filled hidden airstrips. They broadcast open defiance, daring the aliens to face them. The message was clear: humanity would not surrender, not today, not ever. The aliens answered the challenge. With a roar like thunder, their mothership began its descent. The sky turned red as its engines burned through the atmosphere. It was larger than any city, a fortress in the sky. Buildings crumbled from the force of its approach, and winds howled across the land. Soldiers on the ground looked up in awe and fear as the shadow of the alien vessel swallowed the sun. The battle began before the mothership even touched the clouds. Swarms of alien fighters screamed across the sky, their weapons lighting up the heavens. Human jets rose to meet them, missiles chasing their glowing trails. Explosions filled the air, metal and fire raining down on the earth below. On the ground, alien walkers advanced with heavy steps, their cannons tearing through human lines. Soldiers fired back with everything they had, modified rifles and railguns cracking alien armor apart. The earth shook with the fury of war. Through the chaos, humanity's real goal remained clear. The mothership continued to descend, its vast form drawing closer. Every commander shouted the same order: hold the line. Buy time. Keep firing. Do not break. Soldiers fought and died in the streets, knowing their sacrifice gave the world its only chance. At last, the mothership came into range. Hidden railguns rose from bunkers, their barrels glowing with power. Artillery locked onto its glowing hull. Missile silos opened, their payloads primed. Commanders gave the order. The sky lit up as humanity unleashed everything. Railgun shots tore upward, slamming into the mothership with thunderous cracks. Missiles streaked across the air, their explosions painting the sky in fire. The alien vessel shuddered as the first impacts struck. For the first time, its shimmering shield flickered. Soldiers on the ground roared with hope. The impossible was happening. The mothership was taking damage. But the aliens were not silent. Their ship roared to life, energy beams crashing down like pillars of light. Entire city blocks were erased in seconds. Railgun crews were vaporized, missile silos turned to ash. Human jets were swatted from the sky by blasts of searing fire. The mothership's power was beyond anything Earth had ever faced, and it struck back with merciless fury. Still, humanity fought on. Every weapon that could fire did so. Every soldier that could stand refused to fall back. The ground burned, the skies burned, but the attack did not stop. Slowly, painfully, the alien shields weakened. Cracks spread across the glowing barrier. For the first time, the mothership itself was vulnerable. In command centers across the world, leaders watched in silence, their hearts pounding. The fate of Earth rested on this single moment. If the ship fell, the war could turn. If it held, all hope would be lost. The final wave of missiles was launched, carrying the most powerful warheads humanity had ever built. They streaked through the sky, their trails glowing like fire. The mothership unleashed its cannons to stop them, destroying many, but a handful slipped through. The world watched as they struck the alien vessel directly. For a heartbeat, silence filled the battlefield. Then the sky erupted. A massive explosion tore across the mothership, fire and smoke billowing out. Its shields shattered completely, its armor cracked open. The ground shook as pieces of the alien ship began to fall, crashing into the earth below. Humanity had done it. The impossible had been achieved. But the victory was not complete. The mothership still floated, wounded but not destroyed. Its weapons powered up again, brighter than before, as if enraged. Humanity had thrown everything into the strike, and yet the monster still lived. Soldiers looked to the sky, their cheers dying in their throats. The battle was not over. Operation Last Dawn had succeeded in wounding the enemy. But unless the mothership was finished, Earth's gamble might still end in ashes. The world held its breath as the alien mothership, though cracked and burning, still hovered above the earth like a wounded beast refusing to fall. Flames poured from its massive hull, smoke stretched across the sky, and yet its weapons pulsed with terrible light, preparing to unleash destruction greater than anything seen before. Humanity had thrown everything into Operation Last Dawn, every missile, every railgun shot, every ounce of strength, and still the ship lived. Soldiers stared upward, their hearts sinking as the glow from the mothership grew brighter, promising death to all who stood below. But within the chaos, a small group of scientists and commanders realized something. Though the ship still floated, its core had been exposed, a giant crack splitting the armor deep enough to reveal the faint glow of its reactor. This was the weakness, the single chance to finish what they had started. Orders spread like fire through the ranks. The reactor must be hit, no matter the cost. Across the battlefield, battered tanks, half-destroyed artillery, and weary soldiers gathered their remaining strength for one final strike. There would be no retreat. Jets with their wings scorched and riddled with holes took off once more, their pilots knowing this flight would be their last. On the ground, soldiers fixed bayonets, prepared to fight the alien walkers until their last breath just to buy the bombers a few more seconds. Humanity had nothing left to give except their lives, and they gave them without hesitation. The mothership unleashed its wrath, beams of energy tearing apart entire battalions, mountains split open, rivers boiled into steam, and yet the line held. Human guns, weak compared to alien cannons, kept firing, each bullet and shell finding cracks in alien armor. Fighters rose higher and higher, climbing through smoke and fire, dodging alien blasts, their only goal to reach the reactor's exposed core. On the ground, a single experimental railgun remained standing, its crew already burned and wounded, yet they worked with shaking hands to power it one last time. As the mothership prepared its final weapon, a cannon large enough to split the earth, humanity struck. The last jets fired their missiles straight into the glowing crack. The railgun thundered, its projectile screaming through the air like a spear of lightning. Everything seemed to freeze as the shots hit their mark, slamming into the reactor with unimaginable force. For a moment, the glow from the mothership pulsed brighter, as if the ship were alive and screaming in pain. Then, the world erupted. The core detonated, tearing through the mothership from within. Light brighter than the sun split the sky, a wave of fire and sound crashing over the earth. Windows shattered across continents, oceans heaved into monstrous waves, and the very air burned as the alien vessel was consumed in its own explosion. Soldiers threw themselves to the ground, blinded by the fury of the blast, their ears ringing as if the world itself had ended. But as the firestorm faded, silence returned, and when they looked to the heavens, the mothership was gone. Only fragments of molten metal rained down, glowing trails streaking across the atmosphere like falling stars. Humanity had won. The battlefield was silent at first, no one daring to speak, afraid it was all a dream. Then the cries began, weak at first, then louder, spreading from soldier to soldier until the whole world roared with victory. Against all odds, against the most powerful enemy the galaxy had ever known, Earth had survived. The surviving alien ships scattered in panic, their commanders horrified at the loss of their great vessel. They fled into the darkness of space, leaving behind wreckage and burning machines. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity looked to the sky not with fear but with pride. The cost had been terrible. Cities were ash, nations broken, millions gone. Yet Earth stood, and more importantly, Earth had proven something the aliens had never believed possible. Humanity was not weak, humanity was not prey, humanity was a force to be feared. Across the galaxy, whispers would spread of the battle, of how Earth's bullets shattered perfect armor, of how a small, stubborn world destroyed a mothership that no empire had ever dared to challenge. The Council of Alien Races, who once mocked humanity as nothing more than savages, would now meet in silence, their minds haunted by the image of the burning mothership falling from the sky. And as soldiers raised torn flags over the ruins, one truth echoed louder than any alien threat: Earth was not conquered, Earth fought back, and Earth won.